presented by Dano's Seasoning. Yum yum, get you some.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate, brought to you by Dogs Media Network and by Dano's Seasoning. As you can see down below, use promo code DOGGOS on your order to get a little percentage to our syndicate, our family, our dog network, so that we can continue providing these types of events for you guys to like and participate in. I am one of two hosts, Dominick TJ, and with me, as always, is three-time national champion TJ Corman himself. How are we doing tonight, TJ?
Good, man. I'm good. How about yourself?
Not bad. I decided to step my game up and compete with the T-shirts. I don't know if you can see this one. It's an ODU T-shirt.
Yeah, I like it. I actually like that logo. That's a sweet logo.
So when I went up there for the app game, and I decided I was going to buy a cup and a T-shirt from every away venture I take anymore, just as like a little I've been there kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And this was an older logo that they use apparently. And so I just thought it was really cool. And I was like, yeah, a T-shirt's a lot cheaper than a sweatshirt. So I'll go with the T-shirt.
That's fair. And it gets outrageous sometimes how much these sweatshirts cost. It's like, I'm not spending $50 for a team that I don't even really know like that. Or in general, like I don't spend $50 on sweatshirts. So no, the answer is no.
Yeah. I'll do it if it's one that's like, well, I just did it for the old school Flying Yosef, right? I spent way more than I wanted to, but
okay. So I will say that, the collector stuff, and then also like whenever I'm at app and then I go into the bookstore, I find myself overspending just because it's stuff that you wouldn't ordinarily find like at the mall or something like that. But just generally speaking, like a Nike sweatshirt, I'm not dropping $50 on a Nike sweatshirt.
No, if all it's got is the swoosh, nah.
No.
That's not enough for me.
I'm a TJ Maxx guy anyway. You know what I mean? So
it's all in the name for you. I see how it is.
I got a TJ Maxx credit card, bro. I'm dangerous.
Nice.
It can get ugly. You give me an hour, things can get crazy.
Nice. Very nice. I don't even know where my closest TJ. I knew where my TJ Maxx was in Boone, I'll tell you that, but I don't know where it is here. I'm sure I know where it's at and just not thinking it off the top of my head, but yeah, hey man, for everyone not aware, TJ just celebrated an anniversary, so a little round of applause. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, man. 2015 was the wedding day, so it's been some years. We actually met each other in 2012. February 2nd, 2012. We were in the gym. She was coming down from upstairs doing cardio. This was Gold's Gym in Wilmington, North Carolina, off Racine Drive. She was coming down. I don't think it's Gold's Gym anymore. I think they bought it out. Anyway, she was coming down, and funny story about it. So we were both texting the same guy. Like I had just moved there, so he was one of the guys that worked at the other gym. And I was just, texting back and forth with him. He was kind of getting me acquainted with the gym. She was texting him basically saying, hey, hook me up with one of your friends, blah, blah, blah. Tired of being single. He was like, funny story. I just had a guy moving to town. And then as he was texting or she was texting him, I was also texting him because I saw her walk down from doing cardio. And I was like, hey, man, who is this girl with the blue eyes and blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, she's texting me right now about you. And I was like, oh, well, speaking of, let's make this work.
So it was love at first sight there for both of you.
Yeah, I guess that's what you want to call it. But no, it was cool. It was a very coincidental story in terms of how we met up. And, fast forward 13 years, 14 years, a lot of years later, and here we are.
Nice. It wasn't Ant, was it?
Say again?
It wasn't Ant, was it? That was the texter?
No. This is the guy you wouldn't know him.
Okay. I only know that like he worked at the gym in Boone, and I was like, oh, maybe he was from Wilmington. I don't know where Ant's from, so that's why I was asking. But.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh man, well that's a very cool story. I actually had no idea that's how y'all met. So
yeah,
very interesting. Again, congratulations. Also, we have this one's not as exciting maybe, but you were a recent runner-up in your flag football coaching with your son. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it. obviously everybody wants a championship, right? So, but wanted to mention that, this guy knows the football in and out, obviously coaching first time, right? Is it first time coaching flag football?
Yeah. First year coaching. First of all, second place is first loser. So there's that. No, they're six, bro. Like they got a trophy and a medal and all that. So they're all happy. I mean, it's cool. The team we played against they were really good. I think they went undefeated on the year, and they were our only loss. They were our only loss at the beginning of the season. So we ended up playing them in the championship, and it just. Things didn't fall our way. I will say refs made some terrible calls, but, I'm not going to complain. I'm not blaming it on the refs. But it ended up, like I said, it was cool for me because I'd never coached football before, obviously. And trying to get a bunch of 6 and 7 year olds to listen and do what you want them to do is absolutely agonizing. It was things like snap exchange. And I'm just like, y'all don't know you can't hike the ball. What are we doing that we can't get the ball snapped? And my wife was looking at me on the field and she's like, you got to fix your facial expression. I don't know how, because that's not who I am as a person. Do it right.
Oh, man.
So no, it taught me a lot of patience. A buddy of mine, Devin Daniels, shout out Devin Daniels from back home. He's the one that actually encouraged me to get into coaching. I think he coaches his son or daughter's t-ball team or baseball or something. He said, and he was like, it's the most frustrating but rewarding thing you've ever done in your life. And 100% agree.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I subbed for my son's soccer team once, and it's like, herding cats, whatever everybody says. It's like you said, it's awesome when they listen and they do well, but it's frustrating. Sometimes you're like, these kids just doing whatever they want, which sometimes is hilarious too. So,
it was some times that were just hysterical. Like one of our kids got an interception and just started running the wrong way, and I was like, "No, come back, come back! You got to come this way." You should have. There's a video of it. I'll upload it at some point. I'm just like in the background, like waving my arms, looking ridiculous. And I'm just like, hey, no, come this way.
Like little giants, right?
Yeah. So it was fun. It was frustrating. It was fun, hilarious sometimes. But like I said, certainly rewarding, and something I plan to do again in January for the Winter League.
Nice. Well, very good, man. Two recent cool things to happen to you, and also Artie Cat says hello to both of us. And Neil says congratulations. So
thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. What's up,
already got some people jumping in and jumping on. And TJ, we didn't really preview these, so we're going to really test your ability with our clips today. Obviously, this is the segment we usually go to next, so we'll jump into that. And our first one is going to be a clip from App State versus Marsh.
Let's go!
We finally got us a good win, huh?
Yeah, very good win. Defense stepped up. Offense looked good and consistent like they have been. So I'll set this one up real quick, and I'll let you kind of further explain it. But this is your old number making a play on the field. Michael Hetzel, which is one of my favorite players. He's just so underrated. He kind of reminds me of, I don't know, some of the small white receivers we've had in the past. Just like he's not going to be the most flashy. He's not going to be on the field all the time. But when he's on there, you're going to notice him for the plays he's making and just his toughness. It kind of reminds me of,
do you remember Matt Klein?
That's what I was trying to think of. Because I was blanking on the name.
He was my backup at M. He was very just like low key, under the radar. But when you threw him the ball, he caught it. And he always made a play, and he's going to score a touchdown. He never celebrated, never did anything crazy. And, this is kind of very similar to what he reminds me of, for sure.
Yeah,
also,
so he'll be –
number he's wearing. I wonder who wore that.
Yeah, no, must be famous. Well, this one will be he's lined up down here. And, obviously makes the catch in the end zone. We'll see it one more time on the regular speed. and then I'll slow it down for you to kind of talk about more of what you see. I mean, it's not the most amazing play of all time, but he actually makes a really good adjustment on the ball that you'll see here in a second. And then we'll back it up.
Joey does a really good job moving the safety with his eyes, and I'll show you that on the next play because I actually watched this from home. Watch how that safety immediately gets out of it. I mean, it's easy pitch and catch. 55, I think his name's Porter, never gets his hands. There's never a jam, and we talked about this a couple weeks back, right? If you don't jam a slot receiver and you got one high safety against verticals, you're always going to be wrong because you can't stop it. And then and this made it even easier. It's actually supposed to be covered too. So look at the safety split in the field. So that safety that's on this hash, that's on the hash closest to us, he actually ran. It was a busted coverage because what should have happened is he's got obviously deep halves of the field. The safety does. He bolts and it looks like he's almost either going man or playing a robber. I don't know what he thought he was supposed to do, but if you check him out, so look at the other safety on the hash. He's doing his job. He's going to bail out. This guy is going to come down over receiver number 2 inside and cross his face. And I don't know what he thought he was doing, but he just basically gave us a touchdown. So great recognition by Joey. He moved him with his eyes, but he didn't really have to do a whole lot because it just was a terrible, terrible coverage. And it's not a mistake that you see often by Marshall, right? They're usually very fundamental and very sound with their defense, but this one was busted coverage. And I remember watching it live and because I was trying to figure out what happened, and the announcer basically said the same thing I'm saying now, is that there's no way that was drawn up that way defensively.
Right. That makes sense. Great
catch, great adjustment on the ball, caught it with his hands. I love a hands catch. I can't stand when receivers let it into their body, but hey, whatever works.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I have a theme tonight, and it's pretty much, well, the first two are clearly wideouts. The other one is pass-catching running back, really. But anyway, it's all kind of offensive plays just to have some fun ones and also to give some of these guys some credit, again, especially Michael Hetzel, who doesn't see the field as often as some of the other wideouts for App State, but makes a good play there. Oh, well, before we go any further, we might have had some comments on that. Well, we got TJ saying, what's up?
What's up, TJ? Cool name. I like it.
Yep. Troy, our editor at College Football Dogs, is saying, what's up? Oh, yeah, Neil mentions McElfresh. Yep. Definitely remember him as well. 82 Bailey. Jason Hutchins, excuse me, is saying Brad Absher. Yeah, that's another one right there. And a team favorite, too. Like, it seems like a lot of these guys, you mentioned Matt Klein, and we see McElfresh, all these guys are like team favorites because it's just fun to see these guys get involved and make these plays.
Yeah. Also, I don't know how much you remember Blake Elder was another one who you just guys like that, you root for them, right? I mean, you want them to do well. Yeah,
absolutely. Definitely. And another guy that not necessarily rooting for as an outsider, but a guy who's just dominating the field, especially Thursday night for Troy, was Chris Lewis. Just dominating performance overall. And I believe he was the transfer from Kentucky who ends up, he's down here on the side of the screen, number 6, just a deep downfield pass. And it just made it look easy. We'll go through that a little slower for you, TJ, and you can, again, there's nothing tremendously done here, I don't think, but if you see something, obviously you can let us know about what Lewis has done here, matched up towards the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing about this. So it looks like cover 3, right? Well, in cover 3, obviously corners got deep third, but then it turns into some version of man. I say that to say this: the corner, once he opens up on an in-breaking route, once he turns his backside to the goal line, that lets me know, number one, he's not trying to let me get outside. Great, cool. I wasn't going outside anyway. Doesn't matter because it's a post pattern. I know I get excited because he's already beat across his face, right? Like he's already given me an inside release, which is what I wanted anyway. So I'm already a half step in front of him, and if I'm even, I'm leaving. So this is a classic case of he just gave up basically a touchdown because of the leverage and the coverage that he was playing. So it looked like cover 3. I think it turned into some version of man. But the corner really, I mean, look, watch him turn his back to our sideline, or to this, I say ours, the version of what we're looking at. And I mean, at that point, you're chomping at the bit. Like, you're literally smiling running down the field, because it's like, I don't want to break this off too early. I gotta, go hold my composure. But that's pitch and catch. That's routes on air.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't disrupt him at all, right?
No,
I mean, he probably barely touched him as he ran by him, right? I mean, that's
why I say routes on air. I mean, free release, he's already given him the inside. I'm going to a post anyway. The safety is doing what looks like, okay, so that tight end pulled that safety down. I don't think that safety was supposed to come down. I think that was a bad play by busted coverage by the safety. I think he's supposed to have a deep third, or a version of deep third, over the middle of the field. And once the quarterback saw that safety come down and that tight end hold him coming across his face, that was 7-on-7.
All she wrote, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he was dominant all night in that one. That one was not as close as it really just kind of mirrored what we saw from last week with the two Georgia teams going at it. We thought this close, high-scoring battle between two teams. Well, we knew Troy and South Alabama wasn't going to be the most high-scoring because of the defense,
right,
but we did think it was still going to be a close battle throughout, and it didn't end up being quite the game we had all hoped for, I guess.
No.
Troy fans obviously loved it, but this game also didn't go the way I thought it would. I actually thought Georgia State might stand a chance here against James Madison, just because they can be very successful throwing the ball, and you've also got one heck of a running back in Carroll, and obviously a running quarterback in Granger. So I thought with that kind of like triple threat offense, they might be able to open up this JMU defense a little bit, but not to be. And this play is a JMU offensive play for McLeod here, as we see him in full speed. Again, nothing fancy. Georgia State's going to bring a blitz all out.
Yeah, easy money.
Yeah. McLeod just recognizing it, probably. I mean, I'll let you speak on this part, TJ. Probably before the snap even happens, and then just making a good throw here to the outside.
Well, and 2, you've got 3-on-3, right? So you've got your 3 receivers, you got 3 DBs over here, you got your safety coming on the blitz. There's literally no linebacker. Nobody's going with the running. I don't even know who's accounting for the running back. Like, it's obviously man coverage, but I don't even see a linebacker even like near the. I don't even know what the hell was going on. Like, what? I don't understand what Georgia State was running defensively, because I got to look at this again from the top, because safety's obviously coming on a blitz. So the way this is set up right now, if you're doing what's a version of an all-out blitz, I guess you can call it that, the safety's got to take the running back. Like, once he sees that running back releasing to the flat, he's got to break his it's no longer a blitz. It's over. You got to go with him, because there's nobody else covering him. You got 3-on-3 right here. The safety's coming down over the tight end. You got slot receiver, wide receiver. It looks like a nickel corner and a corner over here, right? So who is accounting for the running back? It looks like nobody.
Definitely not. Not on this play.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand what happened here, because so you've got the middle linebacker blitzing the A gap. He's standing up over the A gap. Somebody did something wrong, because there's no way he's supposed to be that wide open.
No, like you said, he literally walked into the end zone and stopped as soon as he crossed the goal line. So he wasn't working that hard for that one. But I think
those are the kinds you love.
Yeah. Oh, it just went a little faster than I thought. But McLeod's body movement to get this throw off before the guy blocks it is actually really impressive too. It's not as obvious from that zoomed out look, but once you see it in the zoomed in look, the way he kind of contorts like Patrick Mahomes does and kind of sidearms it, just an impressive quick play to kind of get that ball out and get that touchdown to happen. What looks like real easily, but doesn't look like easily in slow motion, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to have, like, if you're going to be a quality quarterback at any level, you almost have to have that sidearm now. Like, because all of them do. I mean, I watched Jordan Love last week play with Green Bay. I don't think Green Bay won. But his throwing motion, I'm not comparing him to Aaron Rodgers. I would never do that because not a lot of people are Aaron Rodgers. However, it looks fluid and it looks good. Like when he's throwing, I mean, he's throwing darts at any angle. I mean, he's got talent. That's for sure. His arm talent. I mean, them not winning is not for lack of arm talent. That's for sure.
Right. Hey, our president here wants to know if you think App State could take not South Carolina, but the USC Trojans at this point of the season.
At this point in this, well, so here's what I do think. I do know we can put up 30 on them. Their defense, USC's defense is absolutely deplorable. It's almost non-existent. Like they got to score 50 to win. I've never seen it. I don't know that I've seen a defense that bad in a very long time. Maybe Oklahoma a couple years back when they had Lincoln Riley and basically no defensive coordinator at all.
Sounds familiar with this new team in USC.
right. They don't play defense at all. So yeah, I mean, do I think we could beat them realistically? Probably not. Caleb Williams he's a lot. I mean, he is a lot. I mean, they're going to score 50 on us.
Yes.
However, we'll score 40.
Yes. Yeah. It could be a back and forth affair, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and TJ chimes in, same head coach and DC.
Well, then that makes sense.
Well, not anymore, right? DC's gone now, right? Didn't they just fire him?
Oh, yeah, they did fire. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was a couple days ago, like almost right after the game, or was it that Monday?
Might have been Monday.
Yeah, I think I saw it on ESPN. I read it somewhere. It was like that Monday after the game, they let him go. And rightfully so, bro. Like you can't, that's putting entirely too much stress on your offense. They got to go score every time they touch the ball just to be competitive. That's insane to me. It's almost like Colorado's offensive line. Shador's got to be perfect every single play just to even get the ball off. I mean, they're not blocking for this man at all. And again, I don't want to switch subjects. I know we're not talking about top 25 teams or teams outside of our conference. However, it's got to be rough being Shador, man. He got hit 19 times the other night. 19. He got sacked 7 times. The other one, obviously, they made contact. And I'm like, at some point, we got to do something different.
Yeah, definitely do. Speaking of doing something different, I think South Alabama's got to do something different. So they go down Thursday night to Troy, 28-10. You had Watson, Kamani Vidal going for 124. Yeah. And as we talked about, Chris Lewis, I mean, maybe, TJ, you can talk about that. You played with some tall wide receivers. What kind of advantage to guys that are like, I think Chris Lewis is what, 6'4", 6'5", something like that?
Yeah, Brian Quick. You just throw the ball up and they're much less 50-50 balls and more 70-30, right? Because, it takes – you don't have to be perfect with the ball if you're the quarterback, right? It reminds me of those memes and where the Kirk Cousins memes, and he's like, the hell with it, Justin Jefferson's down there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of one of those things because if you got somebody that's 6'4", 6'5", most corners, they're getting bigger, but even the tall corners are 6 foot, 6'1", So you're giving up a few inches, and then God, if he's any sort of athlete at all and has any sort of bounce or jump ability, you can basically strike the band up or at least count a first down every time. So it gives you a huge advantage. I mean, he had 4 receptions, 120 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean,
ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
That's a hell of a game. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's like we said, Troy's offense has certainly gotten better than it was last year, even losing a few pieces. Their defense is at least on par. I think they allowed South Alabama to score 9 points last year, so they allowed 1 more point. So and they got some stuff to work on. But South Alabama just isn't, frankly, what a lot of people thought they were going to be coming into the season at this point. And now we know that for a fact, right? They had that game against Oklahoma State early where you're like, okay, here's the team.
Right.
Here's the team we all thought. And now it's kind of like, honestly, very similar to kind of App State's year last year. Close with UNC. You beat Texas A&M, and then you kind of just disappoint the rest of the year. I mean, that's what I feel like kind of South Alabama's done this season. But Troy keeps on rolling and look like the favorite in the West at this point, without much of a doubt.
It was weird how they went about their business. Nothing in the first quarter. I mean, the odd number of quarters, they did not do very well at all moving the ball. But then, had big explosive plays in the second and fourth quarter, and that, they were able to ride that wave. I thought it would be a better game because of how South Alabama kind of jumped out in that first quarter. I thought it was going to be a much different feel, and then they did nothing the rest of the game. So, not who we thought they were for sure.
Nope. Not like Coach Green said. They weren't who we thought they were.
Right.
Speaking of a team that we didn't think this about them, I would say.
Did not see this coming at all.
No. Now, I went back and watched – so I didn't go back and watch every single game. I watched the highlights of all of them, but I watched specifically this one all the way through and the Coastal and ODU game all the way through, just because I wanted to know a little bit more, right? Like, how did this happen? What went on? And you're going to see in the stat line that Zion Chris went down for the Cajun. So you think, oh, that happened early. That explains this. That's not the case. Zion Chris was in there until I think deep into the third quarter before he was lost to injury. Mm-hmm. Also, it did not look good. I mean, it wasn't an ugly tackle, but the way his knee, maybe ankle snapped probably the wrong way with how that guy was leaning on him with all his weight. I mean, they put it in an air cast before he even left the field, so probably done for the year. But
I was going to say, the air cast comes out, not a good sign.
No, definitely not. And it did very disappointing for just an impressive player to watch while he's on the field as well. But early on, they got themselves into third and longs far too often to really make a game of it. And Arkansas State, they're playing at home. They're playing a little loose, probably, honestly, with where they've been at so far this year. Cross is a very solid running back. He had a good game. But the true freshman, Hawkins, not the top guy on the stat sheet for rushing for the game, but man, electric, dude. He's super small and super fast, like a little Darren Sproles type running back. This is what we've heard is that Arkansas State recruits well. Obviously, with their head coach there, he's brought in the recruiting classes. He's just not putting it together. Well, they seem to have some games where they're finally putting it together. So it'll be interesting to see if, of course, the local kid to us, Rayner, continues to kind of evolve his game a little bit. It's not just taking the ball down and rushing it as much as he was. He's looking for progressions downfield before getting rid of it. So is there anything statistically that kind of stuck out to you in this one that shows why it went the way it did? Or
no, I mean, not really. I think for me, like you said, Arkansas State, they jumped out pretty quick in the first quarter. And they really kind of held on to that lead basically the entire game. I did not see that. So you and I talked about this and their ability, right? They're always kind of like right there on the cusp, them, ULM. Those are two teams that are like always like right there. And, I did not see them scoring 37 points. I thought this was a game that they could, one or two things that breaks their way, they'll win, a couple points.
Yeah.
This I did not see at all.
No.
And I mean, I thought, I had very high regard for Louisiana as football and still do, right? Teams, I don't think the best version of Louisiana was played.
No, definitely not.
That said, that's not an excuse, right? You play to the level of your competition, you're going to lose. So I think Arkansas State did a hell of a job game planning for them, and they got some good breaks and really took advantage of a lot of mistakes that Louisiana made on defense.
Right. Yeah, they definitely did make a lot of mistakes on defense, and I didn't get to this one in time, but Artie Cat says Troy's uniforms, especially new helmet colors, are a lot better than those old, horrible, bright chrome helmets. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the chrome helmets.
I don't like any team that rocks a chrome helmet. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Don't wear a chrome helmet. This isn't what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of the chrome. It's just too much, right?
And I hate when Oregon does it. Like, they're always trying to be different.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and jump to Chris's comment because I know you love a good Sean Elliott quote or experience or whatever clip you want to call it. Was there a better post-game press conference than in the Sun Belt Conference than what Sean Elliott provided? I'd say no. What do you think, TJ?
No, absolutely not. And first of all, there's never going to – if you give this man a microphone and ask him to be candid, you're going to get candor, right? Like you're going to get what you ask for. And he is probably – I mean, he's the kind of verbal coach that can lift you way, way, way up or tear you down based on your level of confidence and how you handle criticism, right? There was a lot of times, drop balls or stuff like that in practice. He wasn't even my position coach, obviously. But, I always found myself wanting to please him because he was the kind of – like he would say all the time, keep dropping balls, you're going to take your scholarship. And I'm like, I'm not going to drop it in the game. Well, you practice how you play, those kinds of things. So Coach Elliott, I'll always have a level of respect for him that probably goes beyond most coaches that have coached me, to this point. I mean, he's a hell of a dude, hell of a character, high character. I hold him in very, very high regard as it relates to football.
Yeah, absolutely. And Neil says that probably doesn't help us this weekend. That's probably true. That's not the thing you want going against you after that one. But let's see. Next game up. Well, look, I could have gone to the next slide already. Georgia State, right? This one was not close.
No.
We just talked about it with Elliott's presser. Just saying, I mean, in fairness, too, he puts blame on every single person. He doesn't try and save it all for one thing or deflect, right? He's just saying it's all of us. There's not, I mean, you 42-14, that's not just one side of the ball didn't play well or you didn't coach well.
That's a collective effort. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we saw that play from Jordan McLeod earlier. Obviously, he was a big portion of why this game went the way it did. Is there anything that sticks out to you, Georgia State, did or didn't do that allowed it to get this out of hand? Was it just that, the start wasn't good enough or like, what do you feel was the difference here?
Well, I tell you what, first of all, both McLeods went crazy. But if you let a running back rush the ball 13 times for 104 yards, you're probably not going to have a good day, right? You know, that's a lot of yards per carry. That's basically almost a first down every time he touches the rock. So that's thing one. Thing two, they did not do well against the pass. JMU is not an we talked about this a couple weeks back. They're not an explosive football team offensively. They do enough to win. Yeah. We talked about this a while back. Can JMU score 30 points and can they stop you from scoring 30? That's really all you need to do to win, right? Yeah. They scored 42. That tells me that Georgia State either let their foot off the gas in a lot of situations or they were still kind of shell-shocked from what happened at Georgia Southern.
Yeah, that's very true.
And they hadn't bounced back. So, and you would think after a loss like that or after a performance like that, you'd want to come out and show who you really are. And although I don't think either of us picked them to beat James Madison, just because, we know James Madison's a really good football team. We expected a much better showing than this. And, defensively, they didn't look good. I think, too, collectively, like you said earlier, to your point, you don't lose 42-14 with it just being one side of the ball, right?
Yeah.
Collectively, you did not do well, and I think they were holding on to some bad juju from the week prior.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly right. It's not minor fixes. We saw it on that touchdown there too. You come aggressive. That's just one single play, obviously, but you come aggressive like that, and you're not prepared. A good quality team, which is what JMU is, can take care of business there. We had a couple people chime in, JMU is next level, what George says. And then Chris is talking about the chance of them going bowling, even without the waiver. But Artie Cat brings up the fact that they yet again applied for another waiver. We can probably get more into that towards the end of the episode because I think that's going to be a little bit longer of a conversation. But yes, I think, just about everybody's aware of that happening, and we'll get people's thoughts and feelings on that definitely as we go further along here. Our next game up was Coastal Carolina and Old Dominion.
Yep.
This one, I don't know. I guess I didn't necessarily get totally shocked by it, but, they don't have Grayson McCall going into it.
Right.
So you thought maybe that was the factor that could have had Old Dominion win the game. Again, this one was the game of the weekend. Like I said, I went back and watched this one from beginning to end. A very fun game to watch. The only thing that was, it kind of felt like a basketball game there towards the end. Lots of timeouts, lots of stoppages of play. Yeah. But it was successful for both sides because both times that either team was doing it had a lot of success. But before we get into, a little bit more of the specifics at the end there, what'd you see in this one that stood out to you, TJ?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I think, like you said, I'm not sure what our prediction was, but I think we both called this close.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I picked ODU or Coastal, but I do remember saying I wouldn't be surprised if it's close and for either team, whoever, which way it goes. And I think it was just that. ODU, they're going to come out and give you a dogfight no matter what. And Coastal, depending on the which Coastal team you get, there's sometimes that Coastal's not, who they are or have been in the past. But then there's some times where, you get a good version of them. And so I think it was too, I want to say middle of the pack. When I say middle of the pack, I mean that respectfully, like right. Top middle, upper middle of the pack of the Sun Belt, facing off, and they gave us a great game. And I think we understood why they are as good as they are, both teams. And no surprise here for me in either sense, just because I expected that this year from ODU. Have always expected it from Coastal, but ODU's proven themselves to me time and time again. So any game they're in, I think it's always going to be close.
Yeah. So watching this one, ODU gets an early turnover in their favor, scores quick, and you just felt like Old Dominion was going to take this one after that. At least I did. Obviously, football's a long game. You don't want to get too excited early on, but I was like, all right, they're playing at home. I got this feeling they're gonna take this, and they played some really great defense in the first half. Of note for Coastal Carolina, we just talked about this last week. We just put the clip up just a couple days ago, so it was really, to be honest, it was pretty much outdated by the time I put it up. But I did like what we had said in the clip because we thought it was true about Guest being kind of like the next heir apparent quarterback there for Coastal Carolina. Yeah. Well, every damn person thought he was going to be the starter in this game. In fact, as Vasco, who ends up playing the whole game, takes the field to take the first snap, the announcers are still talking about Guest coming out to take the snap and what he did last week. And I'm like, that's not Guest. That's Vasco. Clearly on his jersey, it is not the name that you're saying. I know the guys in the booth don't get to see that view they're looking out over the field. So it's understandable, but it was interesting. And they didn't really know why Guest didn't go. It doesn't seem like Guest was hurt. He actually got into the game on the 2-point conversion that tied it up late at 21 apiece, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And he took the snap as the quarterback, handed it off to Vasco. So they had two quarterbacks in the backfield, and he actually gets in for the 2-point to tie it at 21. So just interesting. Now Coastal fans are saying Vasco's the guy. But you know what I'm seeing with him is a lot of what we've talked about with Zion Chris and even Jalen Rayner, which is I'm not as prolific as a passer. So what my best play is to tuck and run, and Vasco's best plays of the game were always a quarterback draw. Yep. ODU's defense, just for whatever reason, had a couple of lapses. They had, like I said, played great in the first half. They kept pretty much 11 points is what I was counting off the board because Coastal was within, I think even the 10, maybe as far back as the 15 twice, and had to settle for field goals, missing one completely. So they went into the half without even having a single touchdown on the board. So Old Dominion was playing great defensively in the first half, a bit kind of a bend but don't break towards the red zone. But it's just this conference has some quarterbacks, but we really need to see if some of these guys can develop into better passers because as good as a game as Vasco had, he did not throw the ball exceptionally well. He had some good passes, but he didn't have very many of them. And so it's hard for me to say he's kind of the next guy. He's kind of like an early version of McCall from what I see because that's kind of what McCall did a lot when he first started out. And he's evolved as a passer as he's gone along. But Yeah. Moving on to the next one. This one was a shellacking. I don't remember what we said about this one. I mean, I don't think we thought either team was going to run away with it, but I'm not sure if we thought Southern Miss was going to win this one or not. I think I leaned towards them because of how they scored points against App State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I can't remember who I picked to win this game. I do know that I did predict, Frank Gore Jr., he was going to have a good day, and he did. He didn't have 270 yards, but he, 130 sub, what is it, 131? Yeah, and a touchdown. Not a bad day, 24 carries. Yeah. So that'll certainly get the job done offensively. No real standouts. I will say Wiley for ULM had a really good day at receiver. 137 yards on 3 receptions. I would say maybe let's find a way to get him the ball a little bit more than 3 times. So, but yeah, I mean, apart from that, I mean, really no highlight here to really speak of. I mean, it was just, like you said, I mean, they got the brakes beat off them from start to finish.
Yeah. I think the thing we can hark back onto is the same thing that we kind of talked about from last week with I don't want to say coaching change, but I mean a coaching switch because Will Hall was calling the offensive plays and he handed that off, and then they scored, 28 against App State? Obviously they lost by 10, but here they scored 24. I mean, again, we know both that 30 plus points is really what's going to get you more wins here in the Sun Belt, but the high 20s can also get it done, especially when you're playing better defensively.
I was going to say, especially when the other team scores 7.
Yeah. So, I thought ULM would score more points here in this one. I thought they'd be more competitive. So a little bit surprising this game wasn't kind of closer in the 20s for each team, really. I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned. But ULM finds themselves kind of in the basement, and that's where most people kind of thought they'd be anyway. So in the end, not that surprising, but how they started the year, you thought maybe they certainly could have a better showing than usual.
Yeah.
For that one.
Apparently not. This game shocked the crap out of me.
Yep. I think we're going to have Artie Cat chime in pretty quickly on this one. Oh, I see a comment just popped up. Hey. It's actually for the game we just talked about. He said, will ULM ever move on from Coach Bowden?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't.
Here's a better question. A better question is, do they need to? Should they?
Right. Is it coaching at that point?
Right. Is it talent or is it coaching? Like what? And again, I haven't watched them, and I'll be the first to admit I haven't watched them as closely enough to have the opinion that I have, like say at App State or Coastal or Georgia State or Georgia Southern. So I don't have, enough information to formulate a good opinion on it. Right.
Right.
But I think that the bigger question is it coaching? Is it something that, should they be moving on from him? Will they is one question, but should they is I think the bigger question.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, and I'm sure you're aware, and some of the people watching may be aware, but ULM is one of the least funded programs in the entire NCAA, especially in Division I. But they just don't have the money. So you got to ask, they don't really have the money, and who's going to be chomping at the bit to take over a ULM program? I mean, you don't want it to be a slight, but it's not drawing a bunch of people towards it, right? So that kind of is what it is. But getting back to this, we'll see if Artie chimes in on his own team here, because you got to be proud of the performance that they put on against Georgia Southern. I mean, it would not have surprised me in the least bit to see this score flip going into the weekend.
Oh, right? No. I thought it was going to be flipped, to be honest. I didn't think – so, okay, I'm not thinking it's a 20-point game by Georgia Southern, right? I'm not – but I did pick Georgia Southern to win by like 10.
Right.
And that obviously did not happen. Good game on both sides of the ball. That second quarter – everything. I mean, the second quarter won them the game. They looked like world beaters in the second quarter. They looked like they looked at the beginning of the year in that second quarter. And I think that is what broke Georgia Southern's back, because they were not. And then they come out second half third quarter and just continue to be dominant. And really, at that point, it wasn't a contest.
Yeah. And this, obviously, the Baylor score was closer, but this kind of had that, at least, in that second quarter, had that kind of feel towards it. Like, this team's on fire. Like, they're not losing this game, So, and that leads into another question. With the success and with scores like this, how much longer does GJ Kinney last at Texas State? Cody is saying that he is a phenomenal coach, which I think everyone will agree with after what we've seen so far. But what's the litmus test on that? TJ?
I was going to say, what are we basing that on though? Like, what's the scale by which we're comparing him? Is it to other coaches? Is it the coaches he's played against? Because I know Baylor. We talked about Baylor, and not great, right?
Right.
At least it hasn't shaked out for them, past that game. But Texas State has had. I mean, they're 6-3. They're 6-3 for a reason. They've done a hell of a job. They're a good football team. I think you've got to do a little bit more in this league and kind of be at the top of it before we start talking about you moving on.
Yeah. Now, are you saying that Baylor's already kind of eyeballing them, which has got to be true, right? I mean, when you go in and perform that way, I think it's hard for me to say because, you've got a situation at like App, obviously, where Satterfield left.
Right.
And what's his name came in. Drinkwood came in.
Yeah, Coach Drink.
Has one good season with really another coaching staff's players, right?
I was going to say a team he didn't even build.
No. And so can it happen that he's just there for a year and gets taken away? I think it could, but I think you're right too that like at this point in time, he just got there. Do you want, he's bringing in a lot of transfers. Could he have success because of the transfer thing? Are people going to be asking those questions and say, I need to see more proof and evidence before we give this guy the bag, right? Like,
right.
I'm with you on that. Like, it could be that he is such an amazing coach, and it does seem like that. But, the transfer portal has changed things, and some of that is going to be a good thing for him. So, I don't know.
Well, and to your point, I think the situation with Drink was he caught lightning in a bottle, right?
Right.
I love Kenny's offense. Maybe another year or two at TSU. Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to take him getting to the top of the conference and being there for the next year or two. Yeah, Artie Cat is saying the same thing I'm saying.
I was just going to say, Artie's just commented the same thing when you said that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be him, having to take him being top of the conference. I don't want to say he has to do it back-to-back, but he has to do it and then consistently be in the running again that following year for them to say, okay, this guy, because it took Satterfield a long time, right? Coach it took, offensive coordinator, then, years go by. I think I'm 5 or 6 years removed, and then he's the head coach, and then he goes to Louisville, So it took him a while. Like I said, with Drink, he caught lightning in a bottle. Also, having come from NC State, he's got that big college feel and that experience. So it was one of those things where he's ready for that next level, or at least in their eyes he was. And they're doing a pretty good job this year. So
absolutely.
It remains to be seen, but I do think a couple more years they can hold on to him. Yeah,
I think they can too. Cody mentions that the family's loving San Marcos and the fans love the family, so that's a good thing. Maybe that keeps him around. Also there's some power on his side too, right? What if he gets that kind of middle of the pack Power 5 team and he's like, if I hold out another year, maybe I'll get upper echelon, right?
Exactly. So he's got to kind of weigh the odds because what is the point in going to the SEC if I'm coaching, Arkansas?
Vanderbilt.
Well, I don't want to say Arkansas. Arkansas is a good school, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to go into a Power 5 conference and coach the bottom tier schools in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what we saw with I'm going blank on the names tonight, but the head coach for the Cajuns who went on to Florida. There was.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I forgot his name. I'm looking right at his face.
I know. I can see his face too. It's killing me. Someone might chime in with it, but there was rumors for a year or two really that he had been probably receiving offers or being talked to, and it seemed like he could have left at one of those times where they were in the championship game against App. There you go. TJ chimes in with it. Napier.
Yep. Napier. That's exactly. I was looking right at his face, and I just couldn't put the name.
Yep. So, so Napier holds out and ends up with the Florida job. Yeah, Neil shares it over here too. But and the Florida job isn't what it was a couple years ago, right? But at the same time, that's a brand, and he's smart enough to attach himself to one that's going to pay him a little more money by holding out a year or two. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, where that ends up. As far as getting to the last game, one that I was at. And I do want to make mention before we talk about the game too much. So I met up for the second time this season with the Thundercast guys. I'm gonna get that closer to the camera there.
Nice, yeah, I like that.
Pretty cool logo. They actually gave me some stickers here too. Mm-hmm. So that's Russ Living Good and his wife made the trip down from West Virginia. So I met up with them. We were talking about it before the game. We ended up meeting up at halftime. Where they had some stuff. Very cool people. I'll make mention of this, and this goes for fans across the board. Don't get in people's faces when you talk trash. People hate that, and you're likely to get hit. He had said that there was a younger kid that had come up and got in his face. It was like, come on, guys. You can talk trash. It's okay.
Right. Just do it from over there.
But just stay the hell away from people's faces when you do it, right? Hey. But anyway,
get beat up.
Yeah. So in this one, we touched on a little bit when we started the clips out, but 31-9, App State takes it over Marshall. I mean, like we said, offense firing pretty well. Defense definitely stepped it up. Are you seeing a defensive philosophy change, or is it just kind of minor tweaks? I guess because that wasn't completely evident to me. Obviously, we saw some different looks, but I didn't know if it was something that they were doing kind of every time, or if that was just, maybe you can explain what you saw out of the defense a little bit better.
Yeah, so there was certainly defensively some coverage adjustments. We weren't giving away the inside slant as much as we've done in the past. The cushions that we've been giving them, I think we minimize that. Right. We minimize the cushions that have happened. And then so as far as a philosophy change, no. I mean, they still ran the 3-4 defense with stand-up defensive end. Marshall has collapsed second half of the year. Absolutely, 100% agree. And it's crazy because they've got a stout defensive line. I thought that's what was going to give us the problem, right, is that defensive line. And they're really good. I know how good we are offensively, but I thought, if we can't get on the edge and if we can't throw the ball, that's going to be a problem for us. Obviously, that was not the issue or a non-issue, especially in that second quarter. Took us a while to get started. But the biggest thing that I saw, Nick, is that we didn't miss tackles. I mean, we made tackles, we wrapped up, we rallied to the football, and we played with intensity and with passion. That is what you – and so part of it is hell yeah, we did it, and I'm excited and happy about it. But then the other part pisses me off because it's you could have been doing this the entire time and, you'd be 7-2 or whatever. Right. Yeah. And that's the, cause obviously not counting the Carolina game and really we could have beat Carolina. There isn't a team that we've played this year that we could not or should not have beaten.
Not at all.
So, I say that to say, had that version of our defense shown up all year, we're looking at top of the East right now, barring JMU, because obviously they can't be a part of it. I still don't think we beat JMU. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and we'll touch on this, but JMU's lost their best defensive player now.
Right,
Jalen Green is out for the season, which is huge. I think you sent that to me, right? Was that you that sent that to me?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean. And I put out a post and someone got offended because I said, wow, opponents are really lucking out with this, kind of thing. And I guess someone got offended that I said, people lucked out. I'm like, no, that's the fact of the issue, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to see one of the best defensive players in the conference now. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that that's what everybody was rooting for. That's hopefully not. I mean, why the hell would you ever even do that? But yeah, anyways. So yeah, with that being said, and the teams that are, like ODU, Marshall even kind of kept it close. I mean, obviously the Marshall game with JMU, it got away from them towards the end, but that game was close till third quarter. I mean, so, and then ODU game was close throughout the very end. I mean, they had, I think ODU had the ball last to try and score a touchdown to win it, So I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think, like we've said, that JMU is world beaters or like head and shoulders above everybody else in the conference. I just think they're better than everyone in the conference. But not
they're
by
better,
large,
and they're better coached, and they play fundamental football. And I think that is the difference between them and everybody else, is because, teams like App State has the talent and have the ability. Our corners and DBs are better, really, than just about anybody we played against. Yeah. But fundamentals, right? And not missing tackles and not gambling. So, like you said, after JMU game, downhill, no breaks, 100% agree, Artie Cat. They have not looked the same. And it's tragic. It really is.
Yeah. I think actually, because I was at it and actually had met Russ and his wife at the game with NC State, I think it's actually been since the NC State game. I think they came in the NC State game with a lot of pressure. I mean, they were talking about being 5-0 and ranked in the top 25. Top 25 probably would have been an outside shot, but they would have been receiving votes at 5-0 after beating a Power 5 team and starting the season 4-0 before that. I don't know if it's a little bit of the pressure, but yeah, after that, the collapse has started. And I think on the broadcast, as I was watching it back, they said that Marshall had an undefeated November last year. Well, they ain't going to have an undefeated November this year. So I just, I feel for the players, because there's been some stuff that they talk about where some of the players have literally come out and said they get booed more at home than they do on the road. That's just sad.
That's tough.
Yeah. These kids aren't giving up. It's very evident, and you can see the anger and frustration. I sit behind the away team when I'm at app games, so you see it. If it's not there, then you get concerned. Like, oh, we're laughing on the sideline as we're getting beat by 20 points. That wasn't happening. So hopefully for the herd and their fan base, they kind of get back on track towards the end of the season. Since they've already played app, they can win more games. I don't care now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes from here. Neil chimes in, I want to beat the best regardless of who we play. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
And hey, as much as everyone says JMU and talking about this postseason stuff, which we'll get into too, it ain't over yet. There's still a possibility JMU drops 2 games, and everybody who's got the 2 losses in conference could jump them, depending on tiebreakers. So
I think at this point, the committee hopes they lose at least 1, so they can justify not. Because at this point, it's at this point right now, it's comical. Not having them ranked in the top 25, and I get why they're not doing it. I understand,
right?
But at this point, it's comical.
In a different sense, but in the same type of NCAA sanction crap. I think they're waiting for the same thing to happen with Michigan, right?
Oh, yeah.
As soon as Michigan loses a game, which could happen this weekend, I don't know if Penn State will pull it off, but could happen. If they lose, the sanctions coming down harder will be a whole lot easier for everyone to take and give out than saying, "Oh, we're gonna destroy this team when they're undefeated." So I think that's interesting, and it's a good point, DJ, because that is probably what the NCAA is hoping for.
But they'll feel better and justify themselves a little bit more if that does happen.
Yeah. It kills the victory. Yeah, that's what Neil says. And right before we go to break, I wanted to get back to this because we'll jump to a little short break and get back at it. But TJ says, tell me you saw the video of the Texas Southern tuba player throwing 5 fast punches at somebody going right back to playing the tuba.
What did you just say? Get out of people's face. What is wrong with you, man? Don't. This is how it happens. Mind your business. Stay in your lane, and just mind your manners, dude. Like, stop. You don't have to be disrespectful. Make your point. Talk your trash. Whatever it is that you're gonna do those things, but just do it from over there. Don't get in my space and make me feel threatened, because now I got to make an example out of you. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, he got pieced up. You understand me?
I want to know what your problem with the tuba player is. I mean,
yeah. First of all, what should they're just there, man, because they're part of the band. Why are you yelling at a tuba player? You deserve that. You deserve. And
also, like, you got hit, like DJ says, like 4 or 5 times. Why didn't you move out of the way or put something up?
Just move. I mean, he. I mean, it was an instant fade. It was bad. I looked at it, and it's all over social media, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
you get what you pay for, you know, it's the price you pay for stupidity.
Absolutely. And then one more comment. We'll go back to Neil before we go to that break. I think we still beat JMU, Georgia Southern, but worried about this weekend. Yeah, Georgia State, like we said, coming in with some gusto after what Elliott's gotten them going with after those speeches he's given or comments and quotes he's given. We'll touch on another one right after this.
Yum, yum, get you some. Very good. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa.
Joe, we all know you're the best.
What?
But you can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Oh, man. Yum, yum.
Never gets old.
Nope. Not at all. Used some on some pasta today. Popped it right on there. Good stuff. Yeah.
Made some homemade chicken Alfredo. Used some Dano's herbs. What is it? Italian garlic and herb? Garlic and herb.
Nice.
Used it in there last night. Had some leftover. It's pastas and stuff like that, like cheesy pastas. They're always better the next day. And so I had it today, and I was like, man, this. And then, just for a little razzle dazzle, sprinkle a little bit more on there. It's a good look.
Yeah. Yeah, you always got to top it off. You can't go with what's already on there.
Absolutely.
Got to have some seasoning in there. All right. Well, touching on that, and let me get this back on stage here. First matchup of this coming weekend will be tomorrow night, pitting Southern Miss traveling to the Ragin' Cajuns down there in Lafayette. Lafayette? I think they call it Lafayette, actually. Sorry, let me remedy that.
I've always called it Lafayette. Have I been doing this wrong?
Yeah, well, the locals down there call it Lafayette, which I thought they were messing with me the first time I went down there. I was like, you're just saying that to say that, you're an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about when you tell other people. And they're like, no, I'm serious. We call it Lafayette. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll go with Lafayette.
I mean, that's what it is, and that's what it is.
Yeah. So Lafayette is it's Appalachian. We hear that all the time.
I despise Appalachian. I despise when people say that because it's like it's not that hard, man. This is not a very hard word to pronounce. Just say it right.
And I like all the people that say, "Oh, well, that's not the proper way." I'm like, I don't care what you call the mountains. You call the mountains whatever you want. I still call the mountains Appalachian too. But you not talking about the school. You do whatever you want. When your school tells you to pronounce it a certain way, you just do it.
Yeah, well, and two, it's like you wouldn't call somebody a different name if they've already given you their name, just because it's not what it looks like on paper.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Call me what I'm asking you to call me. Don't get me started, because that's a whole other. We can have a whole podcast on how to pronounce Appalachian State.
We'll talk about not getting in people's faces.
Right.
All the things. The food,
and not shooting whole sunflower seeds. That actually. When I reposted it, the amount of text messages and DMs I got after that, they were like, "He really eats whole sunflower." I was like, "Yeah, you heard it, man. He's out here in these streets eating whole sunflower seeds. It's insane. It is absolutely nuts." But
and to touch on that again. Yeah, it's not that I like want to. Like, I'm just not talented enough and patient enough for it.
It makes it worse. What do you mean it's not that you want to? So if you don't want to, don't do it.
Well, like, they're flavored. Like, you get the ranch ones, man. Those are good.
Yeah, you suck on it, you pop it, you turn it. So what I do is I turn it long way.
Okay.
In my teeth. Like, not with my hands, but like
Right.
in my mouth, turn it long way. Boom, quick crack. Seed falls out, and then I spit it out.
I'll next time I'll give it a shot.
Process. I wish I could give you a tutorial on it without it being weird. 'Cause I'm not showing another grown man how to chew things.
Yeah, we'll pass on that. But yeah, that's another type of podcast altogether. We'll stay away.
Yeah, that's a Channing. What is it, Channing Crowder? That's his podcast.
Oh man! All right, let's get back to the comments after that one. Juco Wiley say, "Don't throw punches, even run. But if they touch you, don't talk about it. Be about it." Tuba never stopped playing. That's true.
Yeah,
he definitely never stopped playing.
He kept in stride the whole time. He kept never. If he had a solo, he would have jumped right back in it.
Oh,
it was almost like he didn't do anything.
It
was
pretty
awesome.
crazy.
It was deserved and it was awesome.
Artie Cat's given us the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. So there's the official name. And they used to be called like USL, University of Southern Louisiana or something like that. I forget.
So the name I wasn't blanking on. It was Lafayette or Lafayette.
Oh yeah, right.
That was the part I was confused because I've always called it Lafayette. But if I'm saying it wrong, then by all means, my apologies.
Speaking of saying it wrong, here comes TJ, the Yankee, saying it wrong again. Appalachian. Maybe say Appalachian?
Appalachian.
He's close. Maybe he's close then.
We'll give you points for that.
Yeah, there we go. They kept using Louisiana on their jerseys, even though neither them or ULM was supposed to do that. Yeah, I think LSU fans got all up in arms about that. TJ, I'm not sure if you ever got involved in that spat, but I've seen a lot of that back and forth. ULM's not really part of the argument, but Louisiana and LSU go back and forth all the time about being called Louisiana.
Well, two things can be true. One can be Louisiana, one can be Louisiana State. One can be North Carolina, one can be North Carolina State. That's kind of it's actually how it works in college. There's a Texas and there's a Texas State. You know what I mean? These things happen. Yeah,
it sounds like LSU feels like no other university in the state of Louisiana even exists. And so that's what pisses everybody off. So
that's just selfish. And you got to let the little people play too, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, and Artie says it's because they're in the same university system. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, for those that don't know, like how close Appalachian State was to being called UNC Boone, right? I mean,
I did. Yep, that was a while back. Yeah,
they're in the same system, so it could have happened long ago. Obviously, we're all glad that it didn't because that's such a boring name. Right. So I'm glad they got kind of their own
UNC
name.
Wilmington, UNC Asheville. It's too many UNCs, man. We're good. Yeah.
We'll keep what we got. But speaking back on this, and then we got Everett Brown chiming in. Gata Eagles. Well, we'll get to the Eagles here soon, and still proud fan even after the performance this past weekend. But hey, I mean, we knew that we've had some experiences with Georgia Southern fans, so we know that they are a proud bunch. Jumping back into this one, I mean, so does Southern? Simply put, does Southern Miss keep it rolling, or do the Cajuns kind of come back and put a show on at home and kind of right the ship a little bit here?
Yeah, I got Louisiana coming out. They're at home. I think they're going to put on a good show. I do think Frank Gore Jr. is going to run the hell out of the football because that's what he does, but I don't think it'll be enough. Louisiana, when they're on their game, they play, and you've heard me say this multiple times, I've got a high level of respect for their program and what they do. Had a high level of respect since we moved into the Sun Belt. But I think that they have a really great program, and when they're on their game, they're on it. So I think this will be another game of them, representing Louisiana, whether it's written across their jersey or not, and really doing well at home. Again, Frank Gore Jr. is going to probably have 120, 150 rush yards, but I don't think it'll be enough.
Yeah, I think offensively, this game could be close. I think both offenses could be clicking and everything, but I trust Louisiana's defense more. Not a lot more.
Yeah, but certainly more.
Yeah, but certainly more. I think at this point we're all ready for a good Thursday night matchup. We haven't really had one of those yet.
Right.
So hopefully this one can turn into that, even with both teams kind of not being where they want to be. At least they can entertain us. So hopefully that's what we'll get more than anything else. Also, Everett comes back in and says, a little spanking, but we ain't giving up. Well, we appreciate that because we don't want anybody in the Sun Belt to not care about their team because, he's still in here talking even after dropping one, and everybody else is in here talking. So this is what we want. We want a conference that cares and gives a damn, because it's a whole lot more fun when you got it going on like that.
Well, you know what Michael Jordan said? It takes a good man to be able to talk trash when he's losing.
Yeah.
So.
And a brave man too, sometimes.
Absolutely. Sometimes a dumb man, but we're men. We're not designed to be the most intelligent.
That's a good point.
We say it with our chest.
Yeah, and Artie chimes in before we move on to the next matchup here. Cajuns will be angry and take it out on Southern Miss. That's probably true.
I think that's the logic that I'm going with.
Yeah.
I think they'll bounce back and really put it on them.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so an interesting thing, we have two out-of-conference matchups, and the first of which is being shown on screen now, which is ODU traveling to undefeated Liberty. This is the first Saturday game for the Sun Belt. Again, not a Sun Belt matchup per se, but at least one Sun Belt team being involved. I don't think highly of Liberty at this point. Yes, they're undefeated. That's not easy to do. They're a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I don't have them as like a top 25 team. They're just on the outside for me. But I think ODU could take this one. And honestly, I think with what I've seen lately, they could take it rather easily, because I just don't think the Liberty's seen the types of teams that the Sun Belt possesses so far this year. I don't know what your thoughts are on Liberty and being undefeated coming into this one.
Yeah, I was going to say same deal. Level of competition matters, right? I resemble that remark. No, what's strange to me is Vegas has the line at 13.5 in favor of Liberty. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if 13.5 points, basically 14 points. I don't know that Liberty is 14 points better than Old Dominion. First of all, there's nobody in our conference right now that's 15 points better than Old Dominion. So certainly outside of the conference, I'm not picking anybody to beat Old Dominion. That's not a P5 by 14. So whether or not they'll win, I don't know for sure. I know, they're going to be in Lynchburg, which isn't, I mean, Virginia is not a very large state, so nothing there is a far drive, right? However, I do think they make it close. I would not be shocked if ODU won, but I don't know. I'm trying to think with my head and not my heart. I just, like you said, Liberty just they have not played, and I know we sound like homers when we say Sun Belt Conference and how well football is played here, offensively, defensively. You got to score points to win. They haven't had to do that, right? So I think it will be different. And you know what? I'm gonna pick ODU. I'm gonna ride with you. I'm gonna go ODU. ODU by 4.
There you go. Yeah, I'm really impressed with what I saw against Coastal Carolina. I think they could have won that one. They let up a little bit too much right at the end. I mean, literally, what Old Dominion scored I guess they kicked the field goal, right? Because it was 28-24. Yeah. So they kicked a field goal right towards the end there. Or was it? Either way, however they scored, they did it with like a minute 12 left or something like that. And Coastal just worked some magic. So, yeah, I think ODU was on the very verge of beating Coastal Carolina, which would have been an impressive victory. I feel like I trust Jason Henderson and that defense to correct the small mistakes they made against Coastal. Also, they went against a quarterback that they didn't know anything about. So I think they probably will be better prepared for a Liberty team that's got, more consistency at that program or that team right now. So they're going to be able to see stuff on film and better be prepared for that on Saturday. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm riding with ODU, and I'll go more. I'll say a touchdown or more, just because like I think this is one of those in-state matchups.
Touchdown or more? That's bold.
Yeah,
That's bold, Cotton.
See if it pays off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this team is so feisty, man. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But we'll see if it comes true. I could look really silly at the end of this, but I'm confident.
Okay.
Another one that I'm confident in has UConn traveling to James Madison. Is there any chance at all? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No. This is a very quick segment. No, I'm not picking UConn to win, and I'm picking JMU by 30. Simple.
Dang, 30.
Yeah. Probably not. Let's be a little bit more conservative. By 20.
Okay.
At least 20.
I got the wrong. I got to bring up the other tab that shows me the spread. What's a spread?
Oh yeah, so the line is 24.5 JMU.
Oh, so you weren't far off at all.
I said 30 initially.
Yeah.
But at least 20.
Okay.
UConn is trash, man. Have you seen them? They're awful.
Yeah. Well, I thought they had improved because I watched quite a bit. I think. I don't know if it was week 0, but it was before week 1. It was like Thursday night or something. They played NC State, right?
NC State.
The game was close, at least for a while. And I was like, oh, okay, UConn's really turned a corner here. And they have that running back who's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. And then in the fourth quarter, NC State kind of pulled away. I think going into the fourth quarter, NC State started pulling away. And, UConn couldn't make a game. And then after that, it just went all to hell. They're just not – football is not what they do. And that's okay. No. It's not very
honestly, and I've had this conversation. Just drop to FCS and to put all your money in basketball.
Yeah, because that ain't it. That ain't it.
Although JMU could stand a chance against UConn in basketball right now. They already beat Michigan State. So,
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. So we'll move on to the next one. That one didn't take long. All right, the one that quite a few of our viewers are going to have some interest in because we might lean a little heavy to the App State side. App State going to Georgia State down there in Atlanta. This one a 2 p.m. kick on ESPN Plus. All right, so we've got Sean Elliott, not ripping his team, but not taking it easy on him.
Yeah.
You've also got
a little light verbal contusion.
Yeah. So he also had a moment where he was being interviewed. This was a separate press conference or whatever. He said, you and Cobb are both App State guys, and he stops the guy. He's like, no. Well, I'm an App State guy. Cobb's not an App State guy. I went to school there. I played football there. He was just the AD. I don't think he really meant it as a slight, but man, he was quick to be like, no, that guy ain't it. I'm it, So it's interesting that, he's still considering himself an app guy and so proud of it, even though he's running another team at the helm. But, I understand it, but at the same time, like you think in that moment where he's literally wearing Georgia State gear with Georgia State stuff behind him in the presser that, he's not going to be kind of hoorah in the fact that he went to the opponent's school and everything. I love it, but it's just interesting that others probably wouldn't do that, right?
Right. Well, so to that end, I'm not sure I've been keeping up with the NFL very much, but Antonio Pierce is now the head coach for the Raiders, right? Yep. They let go of Josh McDaniel. And one of the stories, UConn for the upset, I very much doubt that.
He did. Artie said he was just kidding. It'll be an epic
right. So one of the stories, I can't remember who he was playing with, but when Antonio Pierce was with the Giants, one of his teammates was saying something or doing something derogatory towards the Raiders, and Antonio Pierce stopped him and was like, "Hey, don't do that." He was like, "Yeah, but you play for the Giants. You're a Giant. Yeah, but I'm a Raider." I was born a Raider. Respect that Raider, that Raider flag or whatever. And I thought that was cool because whoever you grow up rooting for or be a part of or any of those things, you are that no matter where you go, right? And to tie it all in with Coach Elliott, you played here, you get your coaching start here, and you get your first big break, big opportunity at South Carolina from here, right?
Right.
It matters to you. That black and gold, and this the same thing can be said for any school. But once you put on that jersey and once you've been a part of it and you understand the culture, you speak the language, you know what's going on, in and around that town, the heartbeat of the fans, the students, everybody, that's who you are. You're a part of that forever. It does not go away. So It's a pride thing. And while, it doesn't hit the eye, right, when you're wearing that shirt and then you're saying what you're saying about being a Mountaineer, listen, it comes with the territory, man. You are who you are.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. So I'll put his comment up again. The Southern fan says, we showed Gag State, what they like to call them. Let me see if I can bring up that score line. Any chance that we see a score like that in favor of App State? So they beat Georgia State 44-27 the other week, 2 weeks ago. Is App State on a roll where they could go down there into Atlanta and do something like that, or do you think this game's still closer? And does the fact that Elliott's there and Clark's there and they know each other and they played with each other, is that lend itself to being, I don't know, more involved of a game with the head games or little scheme things that they kind of know each other better in that sense?
So my gut tells me that it won't be a runaway in either direction, right? I just think both of these teams are too talented offensively. I will say this, though. If App State plays the level of defense that they played last week against Marshall, it could very well be a 14, 2-touchdown win, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't let the big play beat us like we typically do. Played tighter coverage on the outside. And then we contained, not that, James Madison's quarterback is a huge threat to run the ball. Certainly not like Granger. But if we can, this is one of those games where quarterback containment is going to be absolutely key and not giving up the big play. So it's truly 11 on 11 when they're on offense because that quarterback is a threat every time he touches the ball. So anyway, I say that to say if we play well enough defense, I'm picking us to win regardless because I have to. That said, if we can win big if the defense played the way they played last week.
Yeah. Here's my bad mojo, and then we'll get into Artie's comment and go to the next game. But we've never lost to Georgia State, home or away.
Why would you say that?
I know, but this is plastic. Here's some wood. All right. But the other thing is, at home has usually been in our favor pretty well. Although the last 3 times we played this team, either at home or on the road, they've jumped on us quick. And it's been a dogfight to get back in it. And then usually we start to pull away again at the end. But this game has always been close here lately. It was not the case early on. This rivalry, it's not a rivalry. This matchup was never, it was kind of like Western Carolina, right? It was like they always really want to beat you, but it's like a gnat. You just swat them away because they weren't that important and they weren't really all that much of a threat. Now, obviously, we know that they are. So I'm like you. I think and hope that they can continue playing with this level of excitement and intensity as we saw on the sidelines before the game even kicked off, really. You felt different against Marshall. Right. So if they can do that, I agree with you that they could win this one rather comfortably in the end, but we'll see what happens. Artie makes mention of the stadium down there in Atlanta. He says, I don't care what people think. I like Georgia State Stadium. Cool to see it not go the way of the Rubble Bowl in Akron or other stadiums.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that it feels weird. I've not been in there yet. That's one place I want to go. And
I haven't been either.
Yeah, I'm not going to get there this weekend, unfortunately. Been doing quite a bit of travel, so I need to take a weekend at home. TJ, we both probably got leaves piling up. I know I do. So that's what I got to take care of.
A whole bunch of leaves.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the thing that people give them the harder time about is the attendance in the stadium. If they filled up that stadium, nobody would care what the stadium looked like or whatnot. But yeah. Anyway, and then Everett says that they're coming up to Boone on 11/25. Just like you, TJ, you'll be there for Armani's.
Oh yeah.
Retirement, and
hopefully
way.
sending you guys home with an L.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no way we're losing that game.
Can't afford to lose that game. Not with our money there.
Nope. And all you guys as former players too, you want it to be a big party. You don't want to dampen that mood.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. All right. So ULM. Well, actually, Troy goes to ULM. I got these graphics in a little bit of a funky way here, but Troy travels to ULM for this one on Saturday. Also a 2 p.m. kick. There's no way that this one's close either, right?
No. I got Troy by, what's the line? Yeah, I was going to say 20. And Vegas agrees, 21.5 points. Yeah, I got Troy by a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point, with how Monroe's season has gone, you're not going to get a spark here this late. I don't think. You know,
right.
0-6 in the conference. Is that what they are? Yeah, 0-6, 2-7 overall.
Yeah, I don't think they have enough.
Yeah, not against what could very well be the second best team in the conference right now. James Madison 1, Troy 2. It's kind of how it sits anyway, but it seems like it's one of those conferences that's showing the true colors, and I don't think there's really any question in that one. I think Vidal have a pretty big game in that. Honestly, Chris Lewis and Watts, I mean, it could be a very similar image of what we just saw this past week in this one too. So
right. Agreed.
All right, back to Artie's team again. Texas State
this is going to be a good one.
To Conway to play Coastal Carolina. This one's a 3:30 kick on ESPN Plus. Yeah, this one should be good. I agree.
Yeah,
whatever you want to go with on this one. And Artie Cat says ULM with an upset, they're due. Okay.
Listen, you might be right. Well, for the sake of our conference, I hope you're not, because I'd like for Troy to get a good bowl game. And right now, ULM doesn't look like they're trending in that direction for being bowl eligible. Actually, I don't think mathematically they can even.
Nope.
So
yeah, they're out at this point. But
I would hope that Troy hangs on and wins it. But going to the Texas State Coastal Carolina game, it's interesting because I'm looking at it right now, and Vegas has Texas State by 1 or -1 in Conway.
Yeah.
So to me, that's telling me that, the way Texas State has played to this point gives them enough confidence to say that they can go on the road and win. I don't know that to be certain. I think it's going to matter who's at quarterback for Coastal. I think it's going to matter how well they execute. They're not going to have the big splash plays offensively, well, especially in the air, because they're just not, quarterback situation just isn't built that way. So a lot of it's going to have to come scramble, draws, running game's going to have to be intact. Those kinds of things have to happen in order for Coastal to do what they've been doing, right, and be able to put up the number of points that they put up. So I'm taking Coastal because Coastal's at home, and that home crowd, and you've been there, I've been there, I've been on the field. It's they get a little lit down there. So
yeah.
I'm gonna take Coastal at home. I think they have enough to win. I think they pull it off. I say Coastal by 3.
Okay. So Artie Cat's saying we'll see. It's honestly a pick 'em. Will Texas State defense show up? That's the key. Yes, absolutely. Here's my thing. Coastal's defense really ain't all that great.
No, it's not.
Up front, they're a little bit better. Secondary, they're not so great. And so
but neither defense is great.
Well, that's
Texas
true.
State's defense is good when they have a good game, right? But overall, Texas State doesn't have a great defense, and that's why I said, Coastal won't have the big, huge chunk plays, but they'll do enough to keep the score 25, 28, 30 points, right? And it's just going to be a matter of getting Texas State score 30 points, which we know that they can. So that's why I'm picking a game. So as close as I am, I'm just giving the edge to Coastal at home.
Right. No, okay, I can see that. Here's what I'll say is at this point, no matter whether it's Guest or Vasco, I trust TJ Finley to get it done more. And one of my favorite players in the conference, Mahdi, running the ball. He's had some really big games. He's had some games where he's kind of been down a little bit. This could be one where he gets back on track. And if he's going off, that opens that game up, that passing game up for Finley to just go through the air a little bit. And
yeah, I mean, Mahdi's already got he's almost at 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns on the season on less than 150 carries. So
yeah,
the math is mathing at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And you got Hobart down there too, the wideout, who's kind of come out of nowhere again. Like I said, Ashton Hawkins was the guy that I thought was going to be their kind of like number one go-to wide receiver, but this guy's come out of nowhere to be that guy for them. I think they're well-rounded offensively, but yeah, you guys are right. I mean, it's going to go who's better on defense, probably who's more what's the word I'm looking for? Not committing a bunch of penalties, right?
Right. Fundamentally sound.
Yeah. Like you can't be too aggressive, right?
Right. You got to play disciplined football.
Yeah, but you also have to play. You're right. Your assignments, your gaps. Because that's going to be important against a team like either team, because they both have dangerous playmakers at positions that are of importance. So Artie Cat saying the Bobcats live on the big play as well. And that's good, but it's also trouble. Yeah,
exactly. Live by the 3, die by the 3. Steph Curry was very cold in that series against LeBron James a couple years back when they came back from 0-3. He lived by the 3, he died by the 3. He lived by the big play, he died by the big play. So not being able to matriculate the ball, down the field, 8 yards here, 6 yards here, 5 yards here, 4 yards here, those kinds of things. If you can't do that and you only live off that big play, you're gonna get yourself a lot of third and longs, and field position is gonna matter in this game, right? If you give Coastal Carolina a short field, the issue is gonna be because they don't have an explosive offense. That's what they need to put points on the board is a short field, right? So living by the big play is scary as hell when it doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's say this though. Tune into this one, because if there's playmakers 100%. And points, watch this one. This one's the one you want to have on your TV or your laptop or whatever you stream on. Arkansas State travels to South Alabama on Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. I don't know. I think I'm taking Arkansas. I'm rolling with the team that I can trust more right now, and I think that's not by a lot, but
it's funny because I'm reading the line right now, and Vegas has got South Alabama -12. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Where in the hell are they getting that spread from?
They must be looking at some type of information that, like, after a loss or after this type of game,
there must be some
South Alabama rebound.
Third level metrics going on that we don't know anything about.
Yeah,
there's
that's
no
going to
way.
get people to throw all kinds of money at this game and then lose their ass because they don't know what they're doing and Vegas does. But man,
I'm taking Arkansas State too. I'm gonna ride with you on this one because I just think the wave that they've been on and the way that they've played football and the way that South Alabama is a lot to do with Arkansas State, but it's also some to do with South Alabama. Because they've not played well when they've been expected to, and that's the issue. So I'm going with Arkansas State for those two reasons.
Right, and I'll be honest, I haven't looked this up to see if Bradley's going to be back. That could be a determining factor in this one. That could be why they're being favored by 12, because that would make a pretty significant difference. We know that Lopez went against Troy this past week, and for his first start and going against a defense, as good as Troy. I thought he did quite well, but obviously, again, he's kind of more of that scrambler type that's not got the best all-around arm and accuracy and everything at this point in his career. So that would be a big determining factor in this one for me before I'd like put anything on it, which I'm not gonna. So I'll go with my heart instead of that and say, Jalen Raynor, just watching that game back today has been really fun to watch. Their running backs have been better than they were to start the year at this point. I think you, me, and Artie are all pretty much in agreement that the Red Wolves kind of keep it rolling here towards the end of the season.
I agree.
Maybe have something going into next year.
Yeah.
All right, I believe this is the last matchup of the weekend. A good one for the nightcap, I think, because, look, Marshall's down and out a little bit right now, but I don't think this one's going to be one you come into and say that it's going to be easy. So Georgia Southern travels up to Marshall for this one on NFL Network, 7 p.m. kick, night game under the lights. I don't know. I mean, I'm taking Georgia Southern without question, really, but at the same time, again, it's one of those ones where like Rasheen Ali has an amazing game. They tighten up a little bit better defensively, and this one could be a little bit closer than people think. Georgia Southern's only favored by 2.5 points.
Yeah. I'm definitely taking Georgia Southern. 2.5 scares me though, because it's one of those games where if Marshall play. So I say that because if we get the beginning of the year, Marshall, they can beat anybody.
Yep.
Problem is, it's been since JMU, they've just slid. I don't know what the hell's happened. So,
right.
And Rasheen Ali, and I said this last week, we did a really good job. App State did, by the way. Shout out to us, tackling and containing him. I think he had maybe two runs of more than 15 yards. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think it was only 2. I think one was like 21 and the other one was like 16 or 17 yards. I think it was only 2 runs that were really big. The rest were 4 and 5 yard gainers. I don't think he got over 100 yards. Or if he did, it was.
No, I don't think he did.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So anyway, I say that to say he might want to have a get right game personally, right?
Yeah.
But if I had to bet my money, I'm taking Georgia Southern. It's not a long travel up to Virginia, and just something about playing at night brings out the best in you. I love playing at night. So I'm taking Georgia Southern.
Nice. Well, Everett will like to hear that because he says they're heading to West Virginia now for the game.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. I want to go see a game up there in Huntington. That's for sure. I think that, maybe this season's not the best for them anyway, but you hear about the Joan and, what they call it and everything. So I'd like to get up there sometime for a game and see what Marshall's all about. Just the history, I'm sure you kind of feel it when you walk around.
It's certainly rich history.
Yeah. Artie says to contain number 22 and you're halfway there on stopping Marshall. That's very true. I did look it up. 74 yards for Ali against App State this past week.
Okay, so yeah. Like I said, he only had a couple big runs against us, and then the rest were nickel and diamond.
Yeah. I think it said he actually had a 43-yarder is what it said, which I don't remember.
Okay, it was a 43-yarder. Okay, I knew it was one big run.
Yeah, but like you said, if you have a 43-yard run and you have 74 yards overall, you're nickel and diamond, like you said. So, the other thing is, if what Russ with Thundercast told me is true, he's a little banged up. He ain't 100%. So that is a big factor as well. And if that's the case, that's why he's not going as much and putting up as many points, because I'll be honest that going into that game, to me, I thought Rasheen Ali was going to be the best player on the field.
Yeah.
And he might
the hell out of me. I told you that before the game started. He scared me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't really I don't think there's a high chance Marshall wins this one, but again, at home, it's a pretty good travel for Georgia Southern, I'd say.
Yeah.
And night game, and
what you talking? What 9 hours, 10 hours?
It's got to be close because from me and you to Georgia Southern from here is like 6.
6, yeah.
So,
maybe 10 to maybe 12 hours. Well, from here to West Virginia is what, 5 hours?
It's roughly.
Yeah. So jeez, it's a long bus
Yeah.
ride.
It's probably because you kind of take that diagonal. It's probably like 8.5.
Yeah, you're
9 or
going
something.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but that'll wrap it up for this week's Sunbelt action. So real quick, I don't know how many people we still got with us at this point, but regardless, let's talk about this JMU thing real quick. We've both already covered the fact that we think they should be eligible based on a few factors, but what do you think comes out of this latest push? Do you think it changes anything? Do you think this really is finally the thing that gets them? And also, what do you think? Because what the Sun Belt has come out and said is if they do consider them to be bowl eligible, the Sun Belt will also allow them to be in the championship game, which they said previously they were not going to allow them to do.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think it's only right. I think it's fair, if they do become bowl eligible to let them play for the conference championship. I mean, why the hell wouldn't you? They deserve it for sure. And if they keep winning out, like I talked about earlier, the biggest thing at this point for the committee or the biggest thing that would help them is James Madison somehow losing a game or two going forward. And I think that would be them saying, okay, yes, we don't have the pressure of having to worry about them anymore in terms of getting them ranked. So the decision doesn't matter. That said, I think it's an absolute travesty that they have to have this type of year. And I think that they should be, because if let's call a spade, they'd be ranked right now.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
And you're right, Everett. They're not the only school to miss out. There's several schools, but there's not. Those schools that we're talking about aren't comparable to JMU right now, talent-wise, skill-wise, and record-wise.
Yeah, and the other thing to mention on that I really hadn't thought of it this way, but it makes sense. When App State and Georgia Southern and a number of other teams transitioned up, they had one of the transition years as an FCS schedule, and the second year was an FBS schedule.
Right.
If you think about what James Madison has done, they've played an FBS schedule their first year, and now they're on their second FBS schedule their second year. Couple that with the transfer portal and the NIL. NIL is a little bit lesser of a deal in all this, but it exists. So now you're saying that they're really there already, honestly.
They've been there because they've had the schedule to prove it.
Yeah, and so it's different, right? It's already different. And the other thing is, and I think you feel the same way, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't like JMU. I don't want to see them be successful right away, but it's great for the conference. And if the conference has a chance to put somebody in the New Year's Six, at this point, the only team that's got the shot is an undefeated team. I don't think Troy would get in with what they've done with their schedule. I don't think it's good enough to jump all these other teams. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's good enough either.
So I'm thinking the only shot is if JMU stays undefeated and has that. Now, again, I don't want it to be them, but it ain't going to be App State. It ain't going to be Marshall. It ain't going to be Georgia Southern. It's none of these teams that have a shot at this point. And so if you have a team as a group of 5 that has a shot at the New Year's Six, you have to do everything you can to get them there. You literally, as an entire conference, missing out on millions of dollars that would be distributed between member institutions. Right. So, I hate that it's James Madison, but if it's going to be somebody, I'm glad it's somebody from the Sun Belt, and that sounds like what we've got a real shot at here. So I'm all for pushing them because of the situation that we're currently in. Right. Again, if they were a 7 or 8 win team, no one gives a damn. Like they don't care. And honestly, James Madison's probably not even pushing as hard because if there's not enough teams, then they're going to kind of get in anyway. But I think it'd be clear now if we just got it taken care of within the next week or two. So you're not like right at the championship game before they decide this, because that's what we don't want to have happen either. Right. It's like we got I don't know, any of the 2-loss teams in the Sun Belt that, I guess App State's one of them, beats JMU, and then JMU drops the last one to Coastal now you've got a bunch of teams with 2 losses. Who's making it to the championship game? You want to know whether somebody's in or out before you get to that point. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of our thing with it, unless you got more to say on that.
No, I agree with you 100%, man. I think it's, if like you said, JMU's our only shot. It looks like at this point, right, unless some craziness happens, which I don't think will.
Artie says, yeah, Georgia Southern was one of the other ones to miss out. And he also says, before we get too far along, happy U.S. Marine Corps birthday and Veterans Day. Absolutely. My dad was a U.S. Marine, and TJ, your dad was in.
No,
Navy?
Uncles. I've got a bunch of uncles that are in the Marine Corps, were in the Marine Corps. Currently, they're retired now. So certainly, happy birthday to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a lot of respect for any and everybody who's put that time and effort in to protect what we do every day over here. So we appreciate that, and thank you very much. And so going back to the football aspect, do you think, let's say App State does come out and beats James Madison, do you think it's possible if they drop 1 that they drop 2? Could they lose to Coastal to end the season as well? Like, would you think that's even possible, or do you think that's really unlikely?
That if they lose to App State, that they also lose to Coastal?
Yeah, to kind of and what that would do is create a massive tie up top with a bunch of 2-loss teams in the conference.
Yeah, I don't see them losing twice. It's either going to be, if they lose at all, it's either going to be us or Coastal. And I think we have a better shot at beating them than Coastal does, simply because we have Joey's a much more explosive quarterback, right? Than Deshaun Clear's quarterback. Really, either one of them.
Yeah, any of the 3 at this point.
Yeah. So for me, I think if they're going to lose to somebody, it's likely going to be us. My heart says I hope it is the case. My head says, based on what James Madison has done, they've given me no reason to pick against them really at any point this year. So,
yeah, true. I think the smart money for most people will still be on them to win the game. It's like you said, it's just like consistency and the fundamentals. They're just so good at those 2 things that it's you can't afford to be inconsistent. We've seen App be that a couple of times this season. But I think, I'm kind of cheering for 2 losses with them, mainly because, like I said, I'm not a JMU lover by any means.
Yeah, I don't love them. I just don't hate them. I think they're a great school. I think, every time I've ever played them, it's been fun.
Yeah,
so, even when they beat us.
Yeah. I think the one thing that's underrated in this conference, and people don't necessarily understand, when you were in the SoCon, right, you had like some small private institutions you were competing against.
Right.
And I don't know how much that translates to the football field or how much you guys cared as players that was the case. But like the cool thing about the Sun Belt to me, one of the cool things, there's multiple obviously, is like they're all pretty good size. Obviously there's a couple schools here and there that are a little different in size, but mostly similar sized public institutions.
Right.
And so like I don't know, it makes it feel like you've got really like-minded people at most of these places. Mm-hmm. Obviously cultures and demographics change a little bit here and there, but for the most part, you're getting kind of these like-minded people together that just want to have fun, but also be competitive. And like, I feel like that translates on the field as well. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that being the case or if that's just like a fan thing or what.
Yeah, when you play against private schools, you want to beat them worse than you want to beat public schools, right? These private institutions that, you got to be, fancy pants to go to and, prim and proper and all of that kind of nonsense. It's like, come step out here on this field so we can make sure it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
But when you, like you said, like-minded, you're playing against other public schools and state-funded schools, those kinds of things, it makes it a lot more fun, and you speak the same language.
Yeah. And Steve is chiming in here saying, I actually would like to see Liberty and ECU join the Sun Belt. Well, I'm good with one of those two teams. Well, Liberty
Yeah,
is
I don't want them both, but I wouldn't mind ECU for sure.
I'd love ECU. That's one that's like shoot. Here's the one that I'll throw out, and people have said this one too. Obviously, and Steve chimes in again. Liberty is private. Yeah, and that's one reason I don't want them. But there's multiple reasons I'm not real high on Liberty.
Yeah.
I think they'd be quick for everybody hating them more than anybody else. But that we got that in James Madison right now, so we'll just take with those guys. But what I'd like to see is, for a multitude of reasons, is Memphis in the West.
Okay.
Because
Yep.
I feel like if you add in the East, you have to add in the West. Gives you 8 and 8, right? So I don't want like all that.
Yeah. So
stuff.
give us ECU, but also give us Memphis. Yeah.
Yes. So Memphis obviously has been great at football. Obviously, more recently, a little bit lighter than they had been, right? But they were competing in New Year's Sixes, just like 2018 or 2019. Yeah, and they've been putting guys in the NFL. I mean, this is a school that you want to be associated with, but they bring in the basketball. We don't.
I was here to say the basketball is the part.
Yeah, we do not have a top dog basketball institution that's always going to be at the top, that's always expected to win. I mean, Georgia State kind of looked like they were trying to get to that point, and then they kind of fell off here.
Right.
So Memphis would be huge for me as far as the basketball is concerned, and they'd come in and they'd dominate right away. But regardless, at least it'd be exciting. Every time they go on the road, they'd be bringing the crowd to them, you know? So, and you got what? You still got Penny Hardaway as a coach over there, right?
Exactly. That's my point. So I think it'll bring a lot of notoriety to, and then imagine, at a football game, Penny's on the sideline. You know what I mean? So it's a big deal.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Oh, Troy, our editor's chiming back in. I thought I shared one of his earlier, but maybe I didn't. He said his comments aren't being mentioned. That's because he's getting weird on me, so I'm keeping some of them off of here. Oh man. So Steve says if you don't like Liberty, you can play them and beat them. Well, we would like to. The last time App State played Liberty, we didn't win.
No, we did not.
No, that was horrible. But yeah, FIU Panthers and University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. I see.
That's
how did I know that?
A lot of acronyms. Jesus, that's a mouthful.
Are you impressed? I just was like rattling that off. That's not one I know.
Yeah, I was here to say the fact that you knew what that was. I was like, look at him go. Look at that big brain.
Oh man, look at the big brain on Brad. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, I'd love a team in Florida because, like, the travel. But also, my thought process on the Florida thing is put us in bowl games in Florida. That's how we'll be in the Florida market,
right?
And reward us with all being to travel there. I think you're going to have a lot more people travel to bowl games in Florida if they're not going to Florida games during the season. So I'm okay with not having a Florida team in the Sun Belt just to include them. I understand the point of it. But I mean, I think some of our teams are recruiting Florida pretty well already. So
yeah, give us that Boca Raton game. Give us those kinds of bowl games. We'll get down there. Don't worry about us getting down there. We'll figure out a way to go to Boca.
Yeah, the Cure Bowls in Orlando. I mean, you and I have kids. That's a huge.
Yeah.
Hey, why not? And Steve says, fun show. See you at the Rock Saturday after Thanksgiving. Well, you'll see TJ. Unfortunately, that's the only home game all season I'm going to miss. But
I was going to say, you're not going? I think you did tell me that. Yes, you got something going on, right?
Yeah, it's tradition. We go up to Pennsylvania for my parents to see my parents for Thanksgiving. So we don't travel for Christmas, so we do go up for Thanksgiving.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
If I win the Jeep, which I did enter, I'll be back down for the game though.
Yes. Yeah, I want that Jeep. God, that Jeep is nice. And I'm not even a Jeep fan. I don't even like the Jeep pickups, but that app print on it looks
So I don't like the Jeep pickups as a stock, but when they do that kind of stuff to it, like Ruba trucks did, it's nice. Like you said, it's just a nice looking truck.
Yeah, 100%.
So we'll rifle through some of the comments here as we're finishing up. Troy says, wow, suspect. Giving us a hard time. Neil says, good show, headed to JMU and The Rock. Awesome. So Neil will be at both games, sounds like.
Nice.
I'm sure from what I gather, Neil's a season ticket holder. So
yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, Beach Bowl. Yes, Troy. I think the Boca Raton. I guess Boca's not really on the beach, but
well, there's Boca and there's Boca Beach, right?
Okay. You probably know better than I've never been down there.
I think. Well, Google knows.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Neil says sounds good to him. Artie Cat says Orlando, the Sacramento of the East, landlocked. Yeah, that's true. But
so
Sacramento
Boca
doesn't have
Raton
Disney.
is right. It's actually right on Ocean Isle Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
So it's not Boca and Boca Beach. Boca Beach is a part of Boca.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, count me in if we go down there. I'm down.
Yeah, I think we just went there against Western Kentucky, but that one didn't go too well for us, right? Yeah, I'd like a rematch. Well, not necessarily with Western Kentucky, but just a redo. How about that?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, man. Well, if there's nothing more, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for us this week. What do you think?
Sounds good to me, man. Another good show. Happy to be a part of it. Thanks for everybody for chiming in. Obviously, we, usual suspects, but then there's some new faces that we saw as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. And yeah, I'll let you take us home, Nick.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I echo what TJ has just said. Definitely appreciate all the people coming in and commenting and having a good time with us tonight. And hey, we'll be doing it again next week. All right. Thanks for listening.
Sounds good.